So good evening, everybody, and welcome to day 10 of Civil's daily initiative of Daily Answer Wars and Daily Answer War Primes. So again, we are back with the question discussion that we had posted in the morning. And also, guys, a very happy Republic Day to all of you. I hope the day went well for all of you and you were able to study also something and also celebrated the Republic Day. So we will discuss in this session the question that was given in the Telegram group in the morning, and again the framework will be the same. Like first we will discuss the question, dissect it, like what all we could have written in the answer, what points were necessary for it to be a good answer, and then we will go for looking at some of the copies that you have submitted in the group before 2 p.m. So the question was related to GS3 disaster management, and it was PYQ also. This year only it was asked 2022, and the question was about cloudburst. So we see a very increasing number of phenomena of cloudbursts in recent times, like especially in the Himalayan regions of Uttarakhand and Jammu Kashmir, Himachal. So therefore this became a very important topic, and in 2021 specifically we saw a number of cloudburst events. So the question was related to that only. So explain the mechanism and occurrence of cloudburst in the context of Indian subcontinent. So it was mentioned that we needed to talk about the mechanism and occurrence of cloudburst, and context was also the Indian subcontinent. Along with it, we had to discuss two of the examples. That is, we had to mention two examples. So we start with the introduction. In the introduction, we could just begin with defining cloudburst, as is the phenomenon, our ritual. Either we can just start with a definition or some event or current event or some data point. But since the question is asking current events in the body of the question, so we need to write about two recent examples. So it was best to start by defining the cloudbursts. So cloudbursts are short duration, intense rainfall events. Basically, it is heavy rainfall, and the IMD has given the definition any event where 100 of rainfall have fallen in a span of an hour over a region that is 20 to 30 square kilometers. So you had to mention this definition compulsorily in order to get some good marks, because they were expecting some technicalities in this answer. So cloudbursts are short duration intense rainfall events over a small area that occur in a short span of time. According to IMD, a cloudburst is any event where 100 of rainfall have fallen in a span of an hour over a region that is 20-30 square kilometers in an area. So you had to talk about this. Next, we move on to a diagram that we could have drawn, about the cloudbursts: condensing water vapor, rain shadow region, precipitation, dry descending air, moist rising air. So these were the labeling of the diagram that you could have done, and it was a very simple diagram. Here we are seeing that when the air is moist, it rises and then it condenses, and the rainfall is quite heavy. And especially in this rain shadow region, the rainfall is a bit low. These mountainous peaks stop the clouds from crossing over, and this part is basically the rain shadow region, and in this part the rainfall is heavy. So this diagram was very simple that you could have drawn. Next we can talk about mechanism and occurrence of cloudburst in context of Indian subcontinent. So this was the basic demand of the question. We needed to talk about mechanism and occurrence of cloudburst. So the first, some of the points that you could have mentioned are vulnerable terrain. So they occur most often in desert and mountainous regions and in interior regions of continental land masses. So we have also seen cloudbursts in continental land masses. For example, in Bangalore, in Velagapi, we saw a uh, event of cloudburst. In Tamil Nadu, in Salem, also we saw an event of cloudburst in the recent past. So you could have mentioned those examples, but since again we will be mentioning some of the examples in the latter part, so I decided to just talk about how it occurs, mechanism and occurrence. Next, hilly areas are favorable. So this is very common knowledge that it is most frequently occurring in states of Himachal, Uttarakhand, Jammu and Kashmir. Next, we talk about how occurs. So unstable clouds are formed. Like cloudburst occurs when moisture-rich air travels up a mountainous region, as shown in the diagram, forming a vertical column of clouds known as cumulonimbus clouds. So these are dense, vertical clouds. So you can talk about this. Then these clouds usually cause rain, thunder, and lightning. So this is how the cloudburst occur. Next is the upward movement of air. It occurs when saturated clouds are unable to produce rain because of the upward movement of very warm current of air. So you can talk about this. Next is drifting of monsoon cloud. So sometimes what happens in Indian subcontinent, cloudburst occurs when a monsoon cloud drifts northwards, from the Bay of Bengal or the Arabian Sea. So it drifts towards the Himalayas, and since again condensation takes place there, so precipitation occurs in those regions. Next, sometimes it can also occur in different like seasons, not necessarily restricted to the monsoon seasons. So cloudburst can occur not only in the monsoon seasons, but also during March to May, which is known for severe convective weather activities. And finally, we are talking about the vulnerability of the Himalayan region. So most of the cloudburst events occur in the elevation range of 1000 mm, 1000 meter to 2500 meter within the valley folds of the southern rim of the Indian Himalayas. So again, here we have talked about the orographic architecture. All of this is explained in the diagram itself. You just needed, since this was asking the whole mechanism and occurrence, so you needed to explain your points a bit so that the examiner can understand that you have the knowledge, and other than the diagram, you can also present your knowledge in the required format. So the orographic architecture of Himalayan regions makes them ideal for localized cyclonic storms which lead to cloudbursts. So you can talk about this. Now, recently there have been some research which talks about the impact of climate change. Like they are predicting that the frequency and intensity of cloudbursts will increase because of this global warming or climate change. So, with climate change and increased temperatures, the atmosphere can hold more moisture, and the moisture will come down subsequently as a very intense rainfall for a short duration. So, the saturation level of the atmosphere will be high, and it will result in more intense rainfall. It is seen that more cloudbursts are happening in Himalayan regions, as we are seeing. Like in recent times, there are more cloudbursts in the Himalayan region, and that is one of the reasons assigned to it is this decadal temperature rise uh, of the climate. Like due to climate change, there has been a decadal temperature rise, and that is why cloudbursts are increasing in frequency. So this was the mechanism and occurrence of the cloudburst, and if you could have drawn a diagram and explained the basic points, I think you should have uh, done good in this point, in this part. Next, we move on to talking about some of the examples. So the one of the most famous examples is about Uttarakhand, like in Tehri and Chamoli districts. Heavy monsoon rains caused cloudburst. This happened in May 2021, and it led to widespread flooding and landslides. After this, also some of less intensity cloudbursts have been happening in Uttarakhand, but I think this was very high intensity, and it even led to loss of some lives. Next, there was a cloudburst in this Madhyan Valley of Swat district in Pakistan and Hunja Valley of Baltistan in POK, causing flash flooding that destroyed homes and infrastructure. Now, flash flooding is one of the most important consequences of cloudburst. So, what happens is basically a lot of precipitation water, rainwater gets collected, and that results in very high intensity flooding in the region that is affected. So that is called basically flash flooding. So this destroyed homes and infrastructure, and it also resulted in loss of number of lives. And this took place in July 2021. Now this question was about Indian subcontinent, so I decided to take some examples from this Pakistan occupied Kashmir also. Next, several people have been killed in destruction caused by cloudbursts and flash floods in different parts of Himachal and Uttarakhand in August 2022. So this also happened, and this was a bit less in intensity than this May 2021, but this has been happening. Other than that, you could have also mentioned some of the cloudbursts that took place in, like there was a significant event of cloudburst in Belagavi region of Karnataka, I guess, in 2018, May 2018 perhaps. So you can just check it back, and you could have written about that. Next, there was a cloudburst in Salem region in Tamil Nadu also, somewhere around 2021 only. So you could have mentioned that also. So, but if you can mention two good examples, I think that is sufficient. I'm just mentioning more here because you can have options to choose from, or any two could have been good enough for this answer. Next, we move on to talking about a bit of way forward, like what we can do better to tackle these flash floods or cloudbursts, like its consequences that includes flash floods. So there was a Chopra committee formed, and it recommended some measures. For example, shifting from the approach of bare minimum afforestation to bare maximum afforestation. Now you should be knowing by now that afforestation helps in flood prevention and all, because trees, maximum number of trees, try to reduce the speed of water, and also this can help reduce cloudburst events, as well as it will increase the sustainability of the mountain ecosystem. Next, we can talk about strengthening of embankments, barrages, and dams to constrain and regulate water flow. Next, we can talk about localized planning, taking into consideration the ecologically fragile nature of the region and involving the local communities. So these are some basic points about how to manage disasters, and I just curated it according to like cloudburst, like what are the events that what are the measures that we can take in case of flash flooding or preventing of cloudbursts. So regulating of infrastructure projects and preserve the sanctity of eco-sensitive zones. Next is about better forecasting by IMD and incorporation of advanced technology to monitor and predict extreme weather events can enable early warning, evacuation, and preparedness. So you can also talk about this. So this was the way forward. Again, 2 3 points would have been sufficient. If you were like sort of space, you can use smart art format in writing this part. For example, you can use some hub spoke diagram or a flow chart and just uh, finish it within like very short paragraph. Next, we just need to conclude, and this is just about how we can tackle in future. So participation of local bodies such as NGO, Gram Sabhas, Panchayats can strengthen the entire framework of disaster management related to cloudburst. So basically, this is a generic conclusion related to disaster management. Here you can just replace cloudburst with any disaster, and I think that will be holding true. So you can just mention this, and I think this is sufficient for this answer. Just ensure that you are mentioning the mechanism and occurrence, drawing a basic diagram, and talking about some of the examples that examples of cloudburst that took place in recent times. If you are mentioning these three parts quite decently or presenting it well, I think you will get good marks in this answer. So now we move to looking at some of the copies that you have submitted. First and foremost, Varsha's copy. So cloudburst is a localized but intense rainfall activity. Rainfall of 10 centimeter or more in an hour over roughly 10 kilometer to 10 kilometer area is classified as a cloudburst event. Okay, it's fine. Mechanism of cloudburst. So this is good, like you have tried to mention in the same diagram. So this is good. Moisture rich air travels up a mountainous region, forming a vertical column of clouds known as cumulonimbus. High relative humidity cloud cover conditions fuel the formation of cloudbursts. Occurrence of cloudbursts in the Indian subcontinent. Indian subcontinent cloudbursts associated with heavy monsoon rains. Finally, good. Mostly cloudburst occurs in Himalayan states. Okay. Greenhouse gas emissions are also a cause of cloudburst. So you can just mention it in a bit of detail. For example, the impact of climate change, like global warming, and how it impacts the cloudburst. But overall, you have written well. I think good use of different colors also, and most points are basically covered. You have talked about how it occurs, what is the mechanism, and the diagram is also good enough. Next, we talk about the examples. Cloudburst caused huge destruction in Chamoli district of Fine. This is good. In August of 2022 in Mandi district of Himachal Pradesh, some people were killed, some went missing after cloudburst. Okay, fine. So this was the August 2022 example. Okay. So this is also good. Next, we can talk about the way forward, I guess. You have also mentioned that. NDMA guidelines. This is also good. Strengthening of dams, barrages, and embankments. Localized planning, more incorporating surrounding community. Adoption of eco-friendly legislation. You can mention some of the recommendations of Chopra committee also here, along with NDMA guidelines. Like that will add a bit value to your answer. Hence, cloudburst cause intense damage to humanity. Community-based guidelines must be followed, and there must be proper coordination between the local government and people. I think that is also good. So overall, you will get 5.5 or 6 marks out of 10 for this answer, Versa. I think you have written decently, and there's certainly a lot of improvement in your answers from that, from what you have been writing in the recent past. So next, we move to Harji's copy. Let us see what she has written. Cloudburst is a weather phenomenon with unexpected precipitation exceeding 100 per hour over a small region. Okay, fine. Mechanism of cloudburst. Warm current of air from the terrain region pushes the saturated clouds upwards along the mountains. Okay, updraft movement of warm wind clouds. Okay, eventually when it becomes difficult to hold, great strength and velocity fine. Orographic lift is also fine. Occurrence of cloudburst, relative humidity and cloud cover level, low temperature and slow winds, because of which high amount of clouds may get condensed at a. Okay, as temperature increases, the atmosphere can hold more moisture, and this moisture comes down as a sort. So you can relate this with like climate change. For example, this temperature increases because of global warming, and that enables it to hold more moisture. So you can mention that point here: intense rainfall precipitation resulting in flash floods in mountainous areas and water. And also, since you're talking about occurrence, I guess mention about the Himalayan regions and most of the states affected. Just you can give. In one point you can talk about the problem of the Himalayan region, or why in Himalayan region it occurs more. One is because of this orographic lift phenomenon, and other because of this climate change. IMD has also been like saying that the frequency of cloudburst is going to increase in this region, and in India it mostly occurs in that region. So when you are talking about occurrence, try to include that part. Just you can somewhere you have written about mountainous region, I guess. So you can just include Himalayas in that. Next is about examples of cloudburst. In May 2021, okay, Uttarakhand block of Uttarkashi, fine. In July 2022, cloudburst occurred in holy sign of Amarnath, okay, fine. Factors responsible for more frequent cloudbursts: global warming, climate change, okay, so you have mentioned it here. But again, try to mention it in that part only. After that, after examples, don't go for a new section, because that is the second part of the question, and move according to what the question is asking, like according to the question itself. So these factors can be integrated with your mechanism and occurrence in the first part only, because for occurrence factors are necessary, and you can relate the occurrence of cloudburst with the factors, especially hilly regions, as I have told you. For example, this tourism, global warming, IMD has also forecasted the increase of frequency of cloudburst, so you can mention it in that part only. Solutions is fine, like this is basically a way forward. Drainage system, again here if you can mention some of the NDMA guidelines, or you can mention Chopra committee recommendations, so that will add some value to your answer. Like it will show the examiner that you are aware of all the committees and all, and like you are keeping a track of what is happening on the disaster management front. Next, natural disasters like cloudburst, cannot be predicted easily as of now, but the government machinery should remain ready to help and to mitigate the consequence of it also. Okay, so rather than not saying that it cannot be predicted or all, you can go for a more futuristic and positive conclusion that the help of local communities like NGOs, local communities, NGOs, civil society, and all of that can help us to mitigate this disaster better and like be better prepared for any future occurrence of cloudburst event. So that will be a more positive conclusion, I guess, in this answer, rather than pointing towards some negatives or that government can't predict or all. That I think you can mention in way forward that we need to be better at predicting the occurrence of cloudburst events. So that will be for this way forward part. So overall, I think you will get 4.5 in this answer. One of the main reasons why you will be deducted some marks is because you have not drawn a diagram. If you could have drawn a basic diagram, I think some zero point 0.5 or zero point 0.5 marks more could have been given to you. So this was it for today, guys. Again, we will meet tomorrow with a new question and a evaluation and discussion session in the evening. And I hope you are enjoying this process of answer writing, and keep on answer writing. Try improving, and try to spare some time in the day for writing these answers so that you can be better prepared for the upcoming mains when you clear the prelims. So that will be it for today. Thank you very much, and we will meet again tomorrow. So best of luck for your future exams.